have to hit unmute.
Hmm.
It's not
Mine's
happening
just
yet.
black. But it may be on their end, Beth.
Yeah, but you should get the Zoom page at least. Have you even signed up for Zoom?
No, I don't go to Zoom.
What do you do?
Go back out. Go back
look,
to the email.
App is installed. Click Zoom. Sorry, address isn't valid.
Okay, let me.
What's it talking about? You can do it on mine.
Here, right here. Go right here.
Oh, is that a non-Zoom link?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It says 56 people waiting.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, see, I don't even have that.
Takes me to YouTube.
Inspection Zoom link. What? Oh, this is about the inspections.
Oh, that's later.
What is my problem? Unavailable offline.
Did you go to their link?
Mm-hmm.
Weird, because it took me right to there.
No connection. We'll just stay with yours.
Well, but it won't. It's tapped. Oh, here we go.
Okay, just don't move it. I think it's probably just real intermittent. That's a motivational movement. Watch out, fine out.
Okay, I'm inspired, folks. Come on. Now there's only 43 watching now.
Uh-oh. They have to do something else.
And walk your fine ass out the door. There's with his mask on. Hvac.
Oh. He hasn't been wearing them.
No.
I'm pretty sure this thing's working. You got it. That was for you, Millie Monday. Whoa.
Millie Monday.
Give me a Brooke. The Brooke likes some lizard also. All right, let's be sure we can see each other. I think we can see me. He's getting a little close. I gotta wear this thing. He was masked. It is an optical illusion. But, Hunter, how you doing? Good. Good morning. We are live streaming. We are streaming live. We're live streaming from the east side. Look, we're going old school. We got one camera. We got some people here. We're all 6 feet apart. laugh. But yeah, we're live, streaming live from the east side. Bella's here somewhere. Bella got this place set up for us. Bella, come say hi. Hey! All right.
Who's Bella?
What are you grateful for today?
Maggie Flommerfeld's daughter.
Oh, I was thinking of a puppy. God.
Power? Internet access? Power still out. How's that fridge doing? Fridge will be as long as you don't open it, right? It'll last days. Maybe. You only got like 12 hours. Yeah, Colin was telling me earlier she fills hers with dry ice if the power's going to go out. That was smart. What do you can get dry ice at the grocery store or something? I went and got a generator yesterday, and I had
Get dry ice,
literally
of
my
course.
clippers, well, I had extension cords running off. I almost went across the street to one neighbor. So I had a good friend, Mr. Prepares, realm, and he has a generator that automatically kicks on. Well, that's the fancy guy. So to be aware, so his kicks on about 6 o'clock or whatever. The storm came through Sunday night. He's watching TV, all his neighbors, power. Like blinds up, showing everybody. He's like a large hero, right?
Who is?
One of his neighbors.
His alarm goes on. ADT's wired in, and they say you need to get out of the house. Your carbon monoxide levels are way too high.
Oh my God.
And who's that?
His neighbor.
Apparently, if he had been in the house 30 minutes longer, getting gone to sleep, he would have been.
Yeah. I checked ours this week.
Huh?
I checked
This is
ours.
like a professional out permanently
Good
installed.
boy, if our generator kicks on, we always have to remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually good real estate. If you're expecting a house that has one of those things, maybe say, hey, run it for a good few hours and just seal those. Yeah, also just, I mean, these are like $20 things. Make sure you got carbon monoxide.
They got one?
That's important.
Anyway, hopefully they
So
installed ours
we got,
properly.
well, I'm grateful for my power came back on last night, and we had it was wild. My father-in-law passed away really unexpectedly on Saturday, and my wife left town. It was her dad, so
Oh no.
we need to turn the camera just a little bit. All right, here we go. But anyway, and then the power went out. So I just bought a generator
Terrible.
one in the morning because it was like toilet paper. I was hoarding them. Before anybody else wants to get one, I'm at least gonna lock one down. But it's been a wild 24 hours, no internet, no power, trying to manage the kids. And thank goodness homeschool got canceled yesterday. But all that being said, I am just grateful to have a little bit of a normal day. I've got somebody helping the kids this morning and moving right along. With Lizzo, you got feeling good as hell. You're a resilient man, Zach. I tried to. Yeah, a lot. And can I just say, I'm also grateful for people that know what to do at a stoplight and not working.
Yes.
Colin, what are the rules?
I saw this overweight woman chomping, eating something, just go fly through, in front of me, and I tooted the horn at her. She just,
Well, she didn't get caught.
I know.
Like power out, no blinking, nothing.
Green Hills was
Some
that
people
way.
just fly right through. They're like, why didn't I mean, it wasn't red, it wasn't green, there was nothing there, right? No lights whatsoever. No light means everybody stops. Right? So yesterday.
It's $100 too much to spend on getting their meal out there.
Huh?
It's $100 too much to spend on the home birds.
Is that meal and delivery and everything? No.
There's a dead stoplight, and I'm stopping, and there's a car at the other side, and I say, okay, go on. Me and the other person across waving, and this dude gets annoyed behind me, drives around me on the left side in the median, flicks me off, and almost takes this lady out. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. And he wasn't even wearing this. So,
She wasn't.
all right, what do we got? So just like I wanted to spend a couple minutes here at front end talking about the news of last week. We're not going to be merging with parks, and so just kind of wanted to look back. Not a lot of drama here or anything like that, but wanted to back up to when we announced. It feels like a long time ago. Yeah, January, mid-January. But we, at the time, just like now, the village was doing well, had a lot of, and then we really valued our agent first model, our agent-led leadership team, brand and culture, it's what all you guys bring to Village. And we felt like that would transfer well and that both companies could really benefit from that. And so during the integration, and especially as we began to navigate business during the stay-at-home orders and coronavirus, we began to realize that some of those values in our brand were really at risk with the merger. And we're unwilling to risk those things for the benefits that the scale of the merger might bring. This wasn't worth it. So first and foremost, we wanted to protect those things that were driving our success. Plus, like navigating in this environment as a smaller, more nimble company, relying on our existing model and a little bit narrower of a focus versus spread out a little bit in Tennessee, like that felt less risky and like a better decision for Village. So we continue to experience growth and success in the marketplace. We got another big.
Thanks to y'all.
Yeah,
our agents are kicking.
totally. And it's an attractive place to be, thanks to you. So anyway, just the attractiveness of merging diminished over time, and so it just made sense. How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel like I'm so ready to just get moving. I feel like I've been on kind of this holding pattern for the last, 3, 4, 5 months. And it feels good. You know, it always feels good to have a goal and objective that you can be really focused on working toward. And I felt like there was sort of this vagueness because, things were moving more slowly. And just in my notes, some questions were like, hey, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with that? And I'm sure there's those questions, but I'm just glad to be moving forward. Like today, for instance, I am signing a contract for Downloop and for Village. So for those of you who have Downloop, we're still gonna have that. So a lot of the tools we had were the same. So if you have needs or questions or things that you're looking for, let's talk about that. But we've got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe that has kind of been on hold, just in hopes that this. We're in expectation, I guess, of this merger happening. And then
you guys have been great. I got a lot of feedback, I guess, a few questions, but mostly just like excitement. And so appreciate that. Appreciated your trust in kind of going down the path, thinking that it might be a good idea. But we're all excited and united around where we're going there.
That's right. So. All right, so upcoming education events, we got some stuff here. We've got, let's see, after this class, there's an inspection class with David Bibee and David Coffey. That'll be a Zoom class, and then
When is those?
so y'all, sorry, I couldn't find my glasses this morning, and then my regular sunglasses broke yesterday. These things are from like 15 years ago, and my wife told me that they look really.
Well, the growth inspection and inspector thingy is at 10:30.
Okay, that's what that is. All right, I got you.
Colin was great. She said I think they're women's, but that's fine. Whatever. I can handle it. We're all good with that. So let's see. The tech inspections, that's on Thursday. And then following that, we're going to do Menti Monday. Obviously, I canceled late yesterday because the power on the internet. But we are going to resume that again Monday. And then Lee Fund, our very own Lee Fund, is going to do a Zoom class on selling your value next week. So thanks, Lee, for that. And then you can see the rest of this. We're going to send this out too. So we'll leave it all the reading of it. Again, NAR, right tools right now. You can go and get some free education with that. And then without further ado, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about some stuff that's going on in the marketplace.
Yeah. So first of all, I just I thought this was kind of funny, social distancing that us guys can get excited about. So
Oh Lord, look at
some of
that.
that pop up, like that is definitely something that
What? Social distancing that they guys can get excited about.
I think you're just saying it's one man at a time there.
One man at a time. Don't do that.
All right, moving on. So markets year to date, not a whole lot of change from last week, but I just want to kind of prepare. It's really started hitting last week as the first quarter economic data came out. you're going to be seeing some continual bad headlines in papers, the internet, whatever, however you get your news.
You know what they call a bad headline on the internet? Clickbait.
Clickbait.
Clickbait. The whole idea is to get clicks, right? So they want to throw a headline out there. Works.
And so as this bad news comes in, just kind of maintain the mindset that all of this information is really built into the markets. Markets are looking out 18 months ahead. They are aware that this is going to be really bad economic data in the near term. And so, the markets have reacted. It's gone down some. Obviously, you can see here, it's down, the Dow is down 16, almost 17% on the year. So one of the
people are buying gold.
The first quarter numbers from the Commerce Department came out, and GDP fell 4.8%. That's an annual rate, and that's the largest quarterly drop, or the first quarterly drop since 2014. So it's been a while since we've had a quarter-to-quarter drop. It's the worst quarterly drop since 2008. And so in the news, you kind of pick your superlative. It's the worst in our lifetime, the worst drop in the post-World War II period. The sharpest decline since the Great Depression. Out there. Consumer spending also plunged 7.6%. That's a big drop. Consumer spending dropped about 70% of our overall economy. So obviously people are locked down, not a whole lot of spending going on. Interestingly, services, just kind of a broad bucket, services really dropped. And that was driven mostly by healthcare. You wouldn't think, isn't this all about healthcare? But think about Martha and her job as it's kind of an optional
Elective. So anything elective.
Anything elective has been entirely shut down. So the pandemic required providers to pull back on elective procedures, even routine visits. People aren't going to visit the doctor when they have like an earache or something like that because they want to kind of stay away.
My physical guy came last week and said, we'll see this summer.
So it all added up to mass layoffs in the healthcare industry. 43,000 healthcare workers lost their job. Anyway, you'll see some things like, I thought this was interesting, J. Crew.
J. Crew filed bankruptcy.
Yesterday. And I didn't appreciate the.
I didn't like them anyway.
Long-time J. Crew shop would probably get pregnant, I think it probably is. But you'll see a lot of name brands like J. Crew's for bankruptcy.
Hold on, bankruptcy is like, that sounds so bad, but really, what's the point of bankruptcy?
You'll allow them to restructure them so someone can.
Stay in.
Yeah, so J. Crew will stay around. They'll probably close some stores. A lot of those brick and mortar retailers are really going to be pushed to the brink.
This is all like COVID-19, but J. Crew, I was reading a little bit about this yesterday. They started taking on a lot of debt like way before this, right? So this wasn't just a COVID-19 thing. It happened now. It's just a lot of headlines. But,
His pants. Look at his.
So and the worst news, not to be like
What is she doing?
but that first quarter data, I was just
Cleaning out this.
our first quarter was solid until early to mid March, which is the last little bit of the first quarter. So what's really going to be bad is the second quarter. It's
snow coming in the summer.
So we're going to see something, according to Fed Chairman Jay Powell, we're going to see some economic data that's the worst data that we've ever seen in the economy. Basically, the worst economy ever is what we're going to be reading about. Glimmers of hope. Steve Mnuchin, who's our Treasury Secretary, says that as states come back, we really anticipate a recovery. Also, as some of those government relief funds start getting into the economy, that should increase spending. And so, anyway, next slide. Warren Buffett again. I know I'm tired of me talking about him, but national man crush.
Man crush.
National hero. But so this weekend he's supposed to have a his annual meeting in Omaha, Nebraska. It's known as the Woodstock of capitalism. Like 40,000 people descend on Omaha. They come and he's there. He gives his annual meeting. He talks about the economy. So he did all that this weekend, just like you and I are on Zoom call. Give the best like pump up speech, but he did say that the U.S. has faced tougher problems in its history, and that the coronavirus pandemic was banned from coronavirus, but that the American miracle or the American magic was always prevailed. And he had one slide that said pretty succinctly, "Never bet against America." And I thought that was kind of like we're gonna maintain some optimism here. Like we're gonna come back from this.
Mental illness.
So that's kind of overall.
Sad, isn't it?
Yes, it
Be
is.
careful when you see the bad data. It's
Well, maybe it's just part of the
So
game.
that's a good way to talk about it. We're kind of preparing for what is just inevitable.
Why didn't you just pull them up?
Expected.
So this next slide, I just thought it was interesting. It shows that where are we
Speaking
kind
of-
of in the where are we in the cycle? You're starting to see. You can see at the bottom that dates in March. This is just traffic on the roads, on the sidewalks, in mass transit. You've seen that in the last couple of weeks, really, traffic levels have started to increase significantly. And so,
I
people
could
are getting
tell.
out more. You
You
can
can tell
make
it
your
this
own
morning.
judgment on whether that's good or not. But everything, really, except for mass transit, has come back significantly in the last couple of weeks. It does make you wonder, as we've talked about, like, what's going to be the long-term ramifications of coronavirus? Things like mass transit, things like Disney World, and all these different businesses. I mean, we had a huge mass transit vote for Davidson County a couple of years ago now. And so imagine if we're building this thing that some people are afraid to use. I still think, how are you need mass transit, hopefully we just get a vaccine.
I'm surprised walking took as much of a dip. I mean, I guess walking to work, but walking, I see more people walking.
Took a dip.
Well, I mean, I think if you look at like big cities where there was a shutdown mode, it was like stay, to stay home. Where, walking to restaurants to go hang out. Your office is probably closed. Okay,
Just
so a
like,
couple things. Zillow, a new study came out. They had economists, and they're expecting a 2 to 3% drop in value in 2020. You kind of see that. It starts at 100%.
Yeah, write that down.
Downturn happens. They have a couple of different scenarios there, but their most likely case is for a 2 to 3% drop, and then recovery by end of next year.
And then chiefeconomists.com had a 0 to 2%.
we did.
So that must be good. One person, one group can't relax.
All in all, though, if we
Average that out, it's not zero. It's not flat.
and just like even if it is a 2% drop, that's not too shabby considering the economic data we've just been talking about.
We
It's
went up
pretty
5%
healthy.
last year. We went up 9% the year before that. Almost 10% the year before that. 10% the year before that. Just in Nashville.
So that was home price changes?
Just about, yeah.
The values. Okay.
Check mark, which is volume. So we will hit a pretty significant volume drop this year, but you'll also see it come back. So it's already starting to come back in most markets as the stay-at-home orders are lifted and get back out to do work. So this is saying that we'll get back to it where we were in early March. Volume is also
Next year.
next year, but we'll see a pretty rapid increase getting much closer.
What are these scenarios? Do you remember what those are?
So again, it's your most optimistic is your middle of the road is blue, and your most pessimistic is so again, if you're following Davidson County, Mayor Cooper is extending the Safer at Home order through May 8th. That is this Friday. And so unless he updates it and data comes back that it shows that we're not ready to open again, phase 1 will start May 8th. And that will be, so where we were struggling, because Tennessee lifted May 1st, right? So we're following kind of the government guidelines. Our Williamson County office, May 1st.
Smell toast.
And so Davidson County had a little bit too high of a transmission rate and a 14-day new case trend that was less than satisfactory level. All the other categories were satisfactory. So hopefully by May 8th, that data is headed in the right direction.
So we won't really know that until May. The plan is for us to open up the national Davidson County offices.
Exactly. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, so phase 1 in Davidson County, following businesses will be open, proper social distancing restrictions, operating at half capacities like restaurants, and staff wearing masks for streaming. So we're going to follow, even though we're an essential service, we have been able to access the offices here and there. We've been closed to visitors. We'll be opening with phase 1 of Davidson County. So this Friday, go to the next slide. Franklin's already open. We're going to close an hour early each day for staff and everyone to kind of wipe down their spaces, keep things clean, doorknobs, handles. Just want to start off each day clean and healthy. We are also going to restrict how many people can be at one time. So we maintain those social distancing best practices, keep everybody, including our staff, safe.
So how many is that? They're going to restrict it.
Yeah, they didn't say.
Is about all I got. I would say, again, stay in touch with your people. Stay in touch with us. Let us know. We can help with anything. If you got any feedback, we'd love to hear it. There's going to be some cool opportunities emerge out of this. One of those is that we can stay. We're excited.
Absolutely. I'm super excited. So
Get to work.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hunter. Showings. Man, look at that yellow line or orange line. That is going way up. So, obviously, as the kind of requirements and regulations are loosening, and people feel more comfortable in understanding how to show houses, and also just the spring market. Like, don't bet against America. Don't bet against the spring market. I mean, this is I had a multiple offer situation over the weekend that we had a buyer and lost. We offered $5,000 or $10,000 over list price. So
What'd you lose?
All being said, there's still a lot of stuff happening.
Other people beat them up.
So inventory is down. Inventory is still down, and so part of that is just people, I think, being fearful of putting a rate in place in the market. So just because your home is occupied, just because your seller occupies their
We ought to
house,
have been putting ours on the market and selling. That's what we should have been over at Saratoga, but
you have to look into
ain't worried about it.
if that's possible. Obviously, it's expensive.
As things evolve, you almost feel like this is how it was meant to be.
Selling right now.
You do kind of
If I
do.
can spend a little extra money, rent a place, move out, and put my place in the market, and get a multiple offer on it, like you're gonna make that difference up and then some, whatever you're spending to go get a short-term rental. Plus, you're helping somebody with a short-term rental that may not be getting anything. I don't know any data on this, but I imagine that short-term rentals will probably find a little deal on that. So, mortgage rates crazy low. So if you remember 2 weeks ago, they were about 3.25% for 30-year fixed. Last week they dropped to 3.25%. This week, as of yesterday, they're 3.0% for 30-year fixed, 15-year down to 2.65. The ARM dropped almost a point, 0.8 points, so from 4.625 down to 3.875. So that's pretty awesome. So if you've got people that are ready to lock in, remember 1% equals 10%, right? So for every 1% change in mortgage rates, that's 10% of your borrowing power to lose your gain. So if rates are 4% and you want to keep the mortgage payment the same at a $300,000 loan, and you can get a 3% rate, then that means you can spend about 10% more, so you can buy $330,000. Why would you do an makes sense because
Yeah.
So you just do a 30-year fix.
it's a 30-year fix. Yeah, a lot of times, traditionally, arms are less expensive than a 30-year fix.
It's been like that for it seems like a year.
It's been like, well, it feels like 10 years, but it's only been 5 months.
You do an arm if at the end of it you know you're wealthy enough to go back to a fixed rate and you just take the low end of the arm. Megan did that. Megan Black's the only person I've ever had to do it.
Right now, yeah. So, and that's probably why they're not. Tools, just a reminder, I know we talked about this last week. These are really, really critical. Please take advantage of these. I also wanted to say one thing. If you get a floor plan with these Matterport tools, Matterport as a company is putting square footages on the two-dimensional floor plans that come with these. They are wrong.
They're wrong.
And I don't know why they're doing it.
Wow.
Stop. I've asked them to stop.
Doing what?
They're wrong. They put
But
one
you get a
dimensions.
2D drawn, kind of architectural floor plan.
What was that?
One of these Matterports.
What was in the tree limb, was it?
They're trying to be helpful, I guess. They're adding up the inside dimensions and putting that on there as a square footage. That's probably about anywhere from 5 to 10% less than the actual square footage. So please don't use that as a professional measurement. And just if you see one, listed online, don't rely on that. It's probably about 5 to 10%.
They're gonna get sued over that, or we are. I wonder if I can
Well,
measure if my
he
neck.
should clarify that.
Congress enacted
Keep talking.
85, kind of a uniform appraisal standards
Yeah. Okay.
He's measuring.
act, and so there is a proper way to measure a house, and it's from the outside.
See, that's the point he finally made. That's the point.
All that being said, this is still a really awesome tool. Just write out the full plan. I mean keep the full plan, but it's worth it. A few tips. Colin is going to talk about open houses. She has a much prettier mask than I have. My wife got me this yellow. Love you, Martha. Get out of your way. Let's do this.
Basically, we've had a lot of questions about open houses. Given that Williamson County, Davidson County are having different sets of rules, we are deferring to the National Association of Realtors guidelines for all village, which means we are saying no open houses. Currently, if for some reason your seller is very, very insistent and you as an agent are comfortable, then you can talk about how to handle that according to the guidelines. The code tip sheet we've given you will cover that 1% at a time and no touch your hands on that. More importantly, if you are not comfortable and you are being requested by your seller to have an open house, please refer them to your broker and we can talk to them about the risks. And at this point, it looks as though it may only be a few more weeks before we can move those guidelines along. But right now, we are still holding fast to the National Association of Realtors guidelines. Any other questions that you guys are hearing from other people about open houses?
It's highly discouraged, but if your client is really intent on doing it, it's allowed. That's our.
Yes.
We're following that policy.
Yeah, highly discouraged as a village, as a company. So even if you're a Williamson County agent and all the other agents around you are having open houses, we as a company are discouraging that to follow along with National Association of Realtors.
That doesn't mean you couldn't do a Matterport store and still do a virtual open house, right? So you can put a Sunday sign and put a link or a QR code on the sign in the front yard. Again, a lot of interesting things that come out of this thing. Creative.
There's a lot of creative ways to show the house. As we learned from this, is that there are a lot of ways that we are able to help our clients and
I'm glad we hadn't had a ton of
get into
issues.
homes virtually. And then there's always, as we talked about before, there's always showing contingencies, viewing contingencies that can be put into place when everything just feels a little safer. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thank you, Colin. Appreciate that. Coming soon. So, obviously, this is a little bit tricky of how to do this. So, with the new coming soon guidelines, so enter your coming soons in here, but just make sure that if you're putting them in there, that they're going on the loss within 48 hours as it comes, right? So, that's the link, comingsoon.villageteam.com. And that's pretty much it. Takeaways. I learned a lot from her. Thanks so much. And one thing that was kind of cool, we got this inspection class after this. Home inspections, I did learn, I guess, that from a generator standpoint, I just assumed that if you had like a permanent generator, there's no problem, right? So that's something for someone else to definitely ask about.
What? What are you talking about?
Something learned, he learned,
And
something new he learned, and that how wonderful he thought that having a generator was, but now he's learned that there can be issues like carbon monoxide. So to have them checked out, so that was one of his learnings today.
Can we get a carbon monoxide from our generator?
Well, it's all in about how it was installed. We could, we absolutely could.
Yeah, because ours is outside.
Well, and it has to be so many feet from the house, and it has to, you know, have some sort of system to ventilate out, you know, I mean, so anyway.
That's how that guy found out he had that.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that.
See, and I think he probably had a portable one or an automatic one he installed himself, who knows.
Okay, how to get out.
Oh, yeah. Now, let me see
sure
my
you're out.
emails.
Yeah, make sure you're out. Well, wasn't really that much in there today. Part things, easy peasy. Which I figured it would be. Nobody really
But
cares.
I need to look over that again because, you know, when Judy thinks, you know, she's going to come up with some astronomical number or just wait till next year, which she could wait till next year. But we're looking at probably March, according to our research now.
Lease addendum. The following tenant joins the attached lease in full. So the guy in the back, I guess, is getting a roommate.
Oh, okay.
Alexandra. Let's see what this means. Yeah, getting a roommate. Unit B. Service is not the responsibility of tenant. Trash. Okay, I guess it's got landlord utilities. Lawn and leasing by property manager. Hell, they're not doing the lawn. We are.
Well, they don't need to. People don't need to know that. They're going to try to call us.
The brown bins are for trash. I'll send this so you can read it. But what they say to the tenants, the brown bins are for trash only.
I wrote that and sent it to them years ago.
It's still in here.
Good.
Pets will or will not description. It says yes. ESA documentation provided.
He has an emergency. He has a service dog.
Oh, is this the person?
Yes, this is the guy in the back. So he now got his girlfriend living there. That's what's going on. That's what's going on.
Oh my God.
Well, you knew he had a service dog. I mean,
well, we can't do anything.
No, I know.
Well, I remember that conversation is all I remember.
I know. And the only
all he's really doing is adding her.
Yes. The only recourse we have if that dog tears it up is just not that he doesn't get his money back.
Did you know they were doing this, or is this first you've seen it?
No. Oh, no, this is the first I've seen that there's a roommate coming.
Got it.
Well, I'm glad he did it officially.
Yeah,
me
too.
I've seen
most time they don't. That's why I'm kind of shocked.
Yeah, so I'm glad he did it officially.
Okay, pet agreement. Prior to moving from the property, tenant will have the house professionally cleaned, carpets Profession clean, treated for fleas, and 2 flea treatments performed by a professional pest company. Invoices with proof of payment must be provided. So we need to make sure our people do that.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the property clean of debris, animal debris. Get them a letter from licensed veterinarian stating the pets have been spayed or neutered, vaccinated, or on a flea treatment using duration. Pet owner will pay property manager additional rent in the form of one-time pet fee, say $500 for the first and $500 for the second pet. The fees for the permission to have a pet on the premises does not cover any damages. So that's called the tandem pet agreement. I'm going to ask them if that's in play since it's a service agreement dog.
Well, we get our first basket of green stuff from Breeder Farms this afternoon.
Did we go get it?
Yep, we go over to 12 South.
Oh boy.
Yep.
How much are they?
$500. That's what we paid last time. $475 or something.
Reed will be thrilled.
Well, you know, we just need to help these small.
I know they're the only ones we really personally know, but they're just vegetables.
Yeah. So I think I won't go shopping today for vegetables.
Yeah.
South Farmers Market from 4 to 7.
Okay. I gotta put it in my phone then, because so how do I do this? Let me see. There's nothing for me to sign, so I just need to see if it'll let me save them.
Oh, we got a new mural.
Huh?
Brian Stolfus. They hired this artist to put a mural on the Douglas Market lofts.
Oh, that's beautiful. Where are those? Douglas?
He's Nashville, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Kind of missed it in our newsletter. We could have put that in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you ready for me to head back?
Mm-hmm.
Want anything to drink or anything from anywhere?
Nope. Can't think of it, sweets. Not this too early for me. I can think of a lot of things I want, but not at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. What do you? You want a Coke from Wendy's? I know how you love them. Let's just have dinner out or something. That'll be our treat for we hadn't done one in a while. Or well, I guess CSR may be our treat. $500, a lot of lunches.
That's for the summer. We having salads. Oh, look at this guy's pants.
Okay, go ahead and walk. Is that him again?
No, this is
Oh God! I mean, why do they do that? It looks painful.
I know. You know, if you really wanted to wear gangster pants, which is supposed to be identify you as a gangster.
Pants on the ground. pants on the ground.
You know, if they were really in a pickle and had to run, they would not be running very well.
Copy you on my questions here. I'm going back to Tandem and asking them, since this is a service dog, the pet policy that they signed, do they still have to adhere by that?
Mm-hmm.
I think they would, but what do I know?
I would think so too, because man,
I'm so glad to have the dinner done. That's my last dinner.
oh yay!
I mean, the only thing we just never did anything for Amanda and them, but I don't know. Oh, she's got legs like me.
She didn't walk around them.
She didn't?
Mm-mm.
She walked through them.
Right beside him.
So be it. Those who want to be less, whatever can be.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go and walk?
No.
It's nice out. Feel. Feel it. Feel it. Feel the vibration. If we don't do it now, when we don't do it? Then we probably need to do it. I still feel tired, but it always wakes me up once I start. Look at this mop.
Right, my checks and get my stuff
Mop.
done.
Is it gonna rain later?
Well, they're just, they're not calling for it. But it sure looks like it could.
Where are my wheels? Nashville now. Cloudy, 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 cloudy. Sun comes out 7 p.m. And then it sets.
And then the temperatures really start to drop again some more.
Well, we're 72 now, and really 70 at 5, 66. Tomorrow the high is 60. But today's only a 10% chance of rain, so basically it's just going to be cloudy. Airport is good. In case you want. Get my backpack, get cookies.
Bushes today when I walked down the steps.
Oh, today's Murphy's birthday. Listen, Murphy.
Oh,
Look at all this funk on the streets. How will they ever get it picked up? 34 years old. Come down here awful fast. Sure don't need no jacket. It's getting a little humid. I might have to go down to Franklin and throw a few out for some brim today. I'll bring you home a fish or two tonight and put it in skillet.
There you go.
I don't know if you can use that prawn too. I don't know much about that little place. Uh-huh.
Good morning, Mr. Coffey. How are you?
Hey, David, can you see me?
I can hear you, David Coffey. Yes, sir.
And now hopefully you can see me.
We can see you there too. Yes, sir. I like that. Is that stamped concrete or is that stone lay in the back? It's looking good.
Only a realtor would pick up on that quick. That's just stamped there.
I could tell, baby. It looks sharp. I like it. I prefer stamp for many reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they pay me the big bucks, Coffee.
Exactly.
Not at all true. David Bibee says he's got no link. Hold on one moment.
Let's see if I can do this way and see that.
All right.
I'm having to do this mobile since there's no power at our office.
No problem. No problem. We've got a lot of people without power. And so I'm going to I'll clip that video down later. David Bibee will be joining us here just momentarily, and then we'll start about 10:35, but we can catch up a little bit.
You said that you had a kind of an introductory question to jump us off with. What was that question going to be?
So for each, both you and David Bibee, and I see we've got Kelly and Betsy on here, so I know you all can just indulge in our prep here. Is what are the biggest is really what are the biggest pitfalls that you see, or things that agents could do differently that would help their clients' experience and results? We'll go into more of that, but ultimately it's about how can we get the client a better experience, and that's, you know, in part why I have you on here, is because you're so passionate about, it's all about the client, right? And so I know in the safety of the customer. So
Sure. No, and I think that it truly will be a win-win, because it taking care of the customers really lowers the liability to the agents.
that's right. And I think we've been very, a lot of people tend to be very lucky in that things just work out for the best, but there is those 1 to 10% times where when it's messy, right? And that's when you don't want to ever have to hire an attorney, but when you do, you want the best. And
Sure.
You hope you did the things you could have to minimize liability prior to that. So, yeah. I'm going to join this here from,
Are you picking up any of this road background noise? Do I need to mute my speaker when I talk?
I don't think it's bad. No, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. And let's see here. David Bibee is joining us as well. He's having a little issue over there. I know with the power and things, the way they've gone, it's
See, we've got several participants. That's good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna log off here and log in with a different account. So just 1 second.
Okay.
All right. This is me here as Village Brokers. I'm going to change that to. Excellent. Let me get Mr. Bibee, our let me get him a dial-in phone number. We're going old school this morning. Let's get him a dial-in. Here we go. Dial by your location. Let's try this. Right. How has your business been amidst all this? Radon doesn't go away for COVID or tornadoes, but how does that impact how people are treating or servicing that?
Sure. Well, I can tell you that it certainly, we've not noticed a slowdown. We've actually, in the last 20 days, added 3 more people. I'm using this time because there's a lot of really highly skilled, qualified people who is just out of work.
Right.
So I've kind of upped my Indeed and trying to grab those things and grab attention of people who may be looking. So, but as far as the rate, I did notice a dip in the testing for about a week and a half there, but I have re-seen that just surge back up to probably exceeding what March was before all this kind of happened, or February. So we were up in April, and I hope to be up in May. So
yeah, love it.
But we do also a lot of commercial work, and that was already pre-booked for 4 or 5 weeks. So that's kind of helped us to stay consistent through all this.
Yep. Good morning, David Bibee. I will unmute you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. Hope everybody's doing well and safe as well as I am.
We are, sir. It's good to see you this morning. Can you're being on your phone, you'll probably be able to see whoever is speaking. So that's.
Hey, yeah, I saw David earlier, and right now I can only see you.
Awesome. Well, as I'm doing a casual start with, as we get some participants rolling in here, we'll start here in about another three minutes or so. I always give people a 5-minute lag from our start time as they get on Zoom. And this morning might be a little bit less attended than most of our others when we've had about 30 to 40 attendees, but due to the trees and power outages, we know that that's had a significant effect on folks. But we are recording this, and a lot of people access those recordings.
All right. So Does it matter? I mean, to show my ignorance with Zoom, does it matter if it's portrait or landscape? Can you see the difference over there?
It automatically rotates. So if you just want us to see a little more of your kitchen area, or depending on what view you like better of yourself.
I'm in a stranger's house, so I have no idea. I just got here.
There you go.
It looks good.
Hey, Dave.
How you doing, sir?
Good. Good. Doing well. Yes. Just left Chad at the last inspection and had time to get over here and download this Zoom app.
I'm on mobile because the power's out at the office over there, so I had to jump out here on the front porch and do this mobile.
There you go.
Too much road noise.
All right.
Well, I'm very thankful for you both being on here. We'll do some introductions. Again, I was telling David Coffey what I want to cover today is things that you see. Ultimately, how can we improve the customer experience? And so there's things as agents that we can do from the moment of prior to scheduling an inspections, which inspections, and then so I'll kind of lead us through with some questions, and we will be no more than an hour today. But I want to cover things of, I know, David, I've worked with many inspectors, and David Bibee, you know, I work with you for many reasons, and because I believe you're innovative in your business and your model, and how we've created the partnership with Radon One and David Coffey, and I just think there's some awesome things happening there with that, and so just, but again, ultimately, what can we do as agents to help educate our customers and clients so that the experience goes well and they have the best possible results and minimizing our liability, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. We appreciate you coming to us live from the field.
Oh, yeah. Me or both of us, I guess. Yes. Oh, absolutely. This is
Are you kidding? David Coffey's on his back porch having coffee, just sending troops out. What are you talking about?
Well, I should go out in my truck and get my coffee then. So I fit right
Yeah, you got a minute or two. Go get your coffee if you want to.
Well, it kind of feels weird in this stranger's house, so
Yeah.
I'll just kind of stay where I'm at right here.
I like it. I like it. All right. Well, it's 10:35, and I'm gonna go ahead and get us kicked off here. And I am everyone. You all are on phones, so you can't see. Some people have their video on, some don't, which is just fine. And we are recording this, of course. So we publish this to all the agents, and we're very thankful. Today is about inspectors and inspections and what we can do to help give our client the best experience and results while minimizing the agent's liability. And I think we take for granted as agents, there's not enough education done around the agent on how to manage the inspection process. It's like, oh, as soon as you just find an inspector, you call them up and like you ask them for an inspection, and that's kind of how that's your role in the process. And so, you know, as we have, I know there's agents on here that have a lot of experience too, that we know it's not that simple, but in the 17 years I've done this, I have seen many pitfalls and tried to look at improving processes with vendor partnerships. And these two gentlemen, both David Bibee, wave your hand, with Tennessee Home Inspection Services, as his acronym is this. And he's a veteran in the business. He owns rental property and has built homes, and he's a native of West Nashville, and just a great guy. And then we've got David Coffey, the owner and creator of Radon One. And David has has some history in the radon world that makes this such a passion to him, to serve and help people really understand and mitigate radon. This is not just a business for business sake, and I'll let him share a little bit about that. But welcome, both of you gentlemen. We appreciate your time, and like I said, we'll be less than an hour, but we're so thankful you're here.
Glad to be here. Glad for the invite.
So I want to start with the inspection process prior to ordering, in the sense of, because I know there are some challenges that exist just in even, there's different age inspectors have different ordering systems, and many of them have gone online with the ability to schedule things via a calendar. But David, David Bibee, excuse me. Why don't you take us through what things that you see as us as agents that we could do or understand in the scheduling process prior to the inspection happening? What things can we do?
I would say the number one issue that I see as soon as the contract goes binding, or even maybe, as you're in negotiation, is, either contact me as quick as possible, especially if you have a 7 or a 5 day inspection period. If you got a 10 or 14, there's a little bit more wiggle room there. But, I have an online scheduler, which allows you to go online, but I ask that you don't schedule it before you go binding, because, there's anything could happen between before the ink's dry.
Yep.
But once you go binding, you've got that inspection period. I have some agents that will give that responsibility to the buyer, and then the buyer won't contact me till like 3 or 4 days later. And I'll say, well, how long is your inspection period? And I'll say, well, 10 days, and that's on a Thursday. And I'm thinking, okay, well, Saturday and Sunday counts as days. I'm thinking, okay, well, they wait too long. They need to be, if the agent is going to have the buyer schedule the inspection, they need to do it the day they go binding, just so there's plenty of time. That is a huge issue, because we're very lucky to be in such a Nashville market. Even with this crisis we've got, we're still pretty busy out there, to where if you have a 10-day inspection and you wait till Thursday, and you got to have it done by next Tuesday or Wednesday, I might not be able to get to you. So that's an issue: is go binding, get that inspection scheduled immediately.
Excellent. Excellent. David Coffey, anything on your side as far as ways that agents can be most efficient and effective in serving their clients and scheduling?
I think a lot of the same points that Mr. Bibee made falls in line as far as radon testing. A lot of times agents are not aware that 1 inch of rainfall or heavy winds, situations like we are having today, may skew that test to be out a day or two. So again, the earlier you can get that testing scheduled, the more opportunities we have to give you an accurate test.
Excellent. Yeah.
And Ted, if I can add something to that,
please.
Not only the home inspection, but if you're getting, termite, HVAC, whatever additional services that we offer, especially radon, if you wait to the last minute to have your client decide if they want radon, and it's like, okay, well, now by the time, David's team deploys that radon, by the time they retrieve it, they could be on their deadline that day, or they've got to extend it now, because it's like, we've got to have 48 hours. So a lot of times what we'll do, if the agent or client can book it soon enough, we can get that radon monitor in the home 48 hours prior to me being there. So when you get that inspection report, you're getting the radon report the same day, instead of having to wait 48 hours to get it.
He can fix anything. He could have fixed that other one.
Awesome. Sorry about that. I just had, I had my colleague, as they call it, right? Isn't that what everybody's calling their kids in their house? Their business colleagues, their associates. In this case, it's my better half. And she was letting me know that the wheel doctor is done. For $50, he came to my house and fixed my wheels. So if you need that referral, I'll throw that in there, and did a spectacular job. So he takes cash or Venmo, and I'm happy to refer that. So yes, David, looks great. Thank you. Whatever you can find on the couch. Cash or credit card. All right. Thank you, David. You bring to a point that's important, and that is the different types of inspections to consider when ordering. And I want to give this caveat to everyone that's on the call. We've got up to 20 people here, and I know there's more that'll look at recording. This is not a promotion for either of these companies. I do use them, and I believe in them, and I trust them, and I know where they sleep. And so we're all very accountable to each other. We've been in vendor masterminds before, but I use them because they're honest, they're loyal, they're competitive, and I can count on them, and they're of high integrity. But by all means, use whomever you want. But I use these two, and we're gonna talk a little bit about their specific systems, because they're things that help my client and they help me as a realtor and my team. And so we'll get into a little bit of the process and things that David have done to align their businesses for a better client experience. But different types of inspections to order. I know the ones that I can think of, we've got a general inspection, a termite inspection, HVAC, potentially a roof. Most importantly, or as important, is radon. And then I know there are some other specific inspections to consider. Are there any others that you see that we're not doing or should consider or suggest?
You know, when you start looking at additional services, I mean, you know, one thing that I have on my inspection, on my list of additional services that I send out in my very first email, is a lot of people a lot of clients don't realize that it's not a property inspection. It is a home inspection. Home being the primary dwelling, single structure home, not the detached garage or detached barn or anything that's not attached to that house is not included in a home inspection. And a lot of times because anytime I get a request, I will immediately Google the address. Everything pops up about it. And if I see a detached structure, I always make sure to get that to the client and the agent, say, hey, do you want me to look at this? Because it is not part of the home inspection, not a property inspection. So that's one thing to look at. And so, I mean, you can go, you know, like chimneys, you know, if you have a chimney, fireplace, flue pipe, or whether it's a brick and mortar, you know, I don't have a camera to scope that. And I'm not trained to, I guess, professionally look at a chimney. Now, I'll take a look at it on the outside, the inside, the caps, the firebox. If I see anything visually wrong with it that I think's wrong with it at the, you know, my inspections, of course, I'll note that, but I also put in there to have a professional chimney sweep come and take a look at it before you ignite a fire. Also, you know, if you want to go further, I mean, I do look at the foundations. I do get in the attics as much as I can, crawl spaces, as long as they're accessible. When you start looking at cracks in, you know, there's a crack in every foundation. Every one of them settles. But when you start getting into 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, horizontal crack, stair step, it doesn't matter what kind of crack. When it starts getting that large or offset a little bit, you know, that I don't see very many of them, but I do recommend a structural engineer to take a look at it. But those are also additional services that you can have on the front end. If maybe you already know that there's an issue with it, say, hey, you know, inspection is just going to be basic inspection, take a look at it, but we might want to have someone to explain the live load, dead load of that structure.
Well, and you bring up a great point, because when you are as a buyer's agent walking through that home, or as a listing agent, even more so, if you see some things when you take that listing that you see could be problematic, do not wait for the buyer to discover this. You're going to have a lot greater success of finding these things on the front end and mitigating them, or having documentation such as, we see there's cracks in the foundation. We've already got this structural letter, rather than working behind the 8 ball. And all of a sudden you send your general home inspector, he finds the things that you likely may have seen walking through, and then you're having to extend your inspection period to get a structural person or a roof person, because the inspector is a generalist. And I immediately qualify and tell these buyers, they cannot see behind the walls, and they're not magicians, and believe it or not, they're humans. And so there's going to be things that that they will miss, but it's an extra line of defense in looking at your home and looking for signs of things that could be problematic. It doesn't mean it's black and white that it's a problem or not a problem. And so there's going to be some discernment and understanding, and maybe some specialists involved in you getting better opinions, advisement, and comfort. And most importantly is explaining, you know, this is just to help them. Be really careful as agents not to get involved in becoming, you know, the carpenter or the carpenter bee specialist or the structural person. So other optional inspections I see, yes, definitely roof, a structural, chimney, fireplace, an arborist. If there's somebody's got a tree concerns or interests, is the tree dying and splitting in half? Do they want a survey? All these things as a buyer's agent, be talking to your buyers during consultation, or certainly at time of offer. If they have specific concern of these things, Don't wait until you have that client. Go out and create those relationships and have those people on your vendor list so that you can engage their services at that time. 10-4. Thank you, David. All right, so I want to move into the scheduling, and I'm going to reference something that that you use. I'm going to put a screen share on, and again, show the email that David Bibee sends to. It could be considered the Dead Sea Scrolls, but it's very important information here, and you'll see that he is imperative that you read this, because why does he have to say that? Because most people don't read it, right? And so he has developed this long email, but is so imperative here to go over the details. And I want to highlight a few things in here, David, and maybe you can share, give us your strong points to this. I know it's just chock full of really important details here, but.
Well, the first and foremost issue that I have with clients and agents is they do not read that email. It's surprising that a client is going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on an investment and their home inspector sends them an email and they never read it. That is just shocking. And then at the very top of that, you say, do not scan through this email. Please read every line. It will answer most, if not all, of your questions. And I mean, this has been a work in progress for years. And if a client calls me and says, how much is the inspection, or what day and time is it, or an agent, I know immediately they didn't read the inspection, the email, because it's right there. Everything that you could possibly ask is answered in that email. How to pay for it, what time, when will I be arriving? So, I mean, not in this email, because I've modified it because of the pandemic protocol email that I send out, but right up underneath the expected arrival time at the very top up here, I always put a time that the client and agent can show up for a wrap up. So once this virus is over with, we'll go back to our normal way that we work, and you know, the client can come out, agent can come out and catch a, you know, at any time, but catch a, you know, a little wrap up, but always have a time right there. But I'll always get that asked, when can we come out there for a wrap up? Well, if you read the email, it'll tell you when to come out there. So that's the biggest issue, is just not having the parties involved read the email. And of course, the agent, they're going to see the email time and time again. But of course, the date, the day, and the time will always change. Another thing is, I will have a client call me up or text me and say, you know, how much is termite? How much is HVAC? Or how much is radon? Well, if they had read down through the body of that email, there's a whole section that lines out every additional services right there, almost done. So it's like right there. It's every price you could possibly have of the additional services is right there. And even at the very bottom right there, it says time sensitive. You know, let me know as soon as possible so I can put that on the schedule. Because HVAC and radon, chimney, structural, I have to schedule that through the other professional parties. Termite, I'm a certified termite inspector, so I mean, that's no issue there.
So I want to speak to that, because we'll get more into this email. And again, I think it goes without saying, this is not a promotion of David's company, although you can see there's some things that he has done to set himself apart. And ultimately, the reason I'm referencing these things is because it makes my life easier. It makes the client's life more efficient. And ultimately, that's what they're looking for. So, you know, David has aligned himself with a termite company. And so he just does that while he's there. Like, big red truck. Seems obvious to me that the home inspector could take a look at termite. Tell us, David, though, the alignment that you created with David Coffey and the Radon service, because you used to offer Radon services yourself, where you would drop the machine and pick it up 48 hours later. Tell us why and how just tell us how that works, how you shifted that. And David, then we can lead into the differences in your company versus a general inspector doing radon.
Well, that's right, Ted. Years ago, well, I'll say not years ago, but we're approaching 1 year that David and I partnered up. And, you know, before that, I had a couple of radon machines that I was dropping off at my inspections, and then having to go back midday or at the end of the day to pick them up. And it just become, I mean, it's possible that I could be in Lebanon and have to go to Dixon to pick up a radon. Very rare that there's that much distance between. But, you know, when I'm driving an hour to pick up a radon monitor to timely get back to my second inspection, it's just running you ragged. It really is. And it was, custom. But, you know, but I was introduced through Bobby and Ted back in like end of June. And we got together and worked up a kind of a template between ourselves that we worked with. And so Radon 1 has been running those tests for me for that almost a year. And it's just worked out great. I mean, for number one, we can test more, or I can schedule more tests because they have multiple monitors to where I was only able to run 2 because that's all I could handle. And it was just a big task. So David, not only do I try to help as much as possible promote his company with some mitigation if needed, but they have really took a big load off of my shoulders by being able to accommodate any, there hasn't been a time that I don't think that I have had any client that we've had to deny because David and his team couldn't get there. So we can do multiple.
So I want to lead into this. So when we call or when we schedule through you, David Bibee, you coordinate scheduling through David Coffey and Radon 1. It's a one-stop call for inspection, termite, and radon, correct?
That is correct. And right there on that email that you still have on the screen where it says almost done.
Yep.
And it's that's kind of, I like to be a one-stop shop for my clients and agents. So one call and I will handle all of that. And when I get the report, depends on, like if it's radon, if you schedule the radon 2 days prior, then I will have all the reports, whether it be typically it's HVAC, termite, and radon.
And so that to that point is, and again, I bring that point up of the one-stop call, not because again, I'm promoting David. I don't want to make 3 of those calls, but I do want the specialist to go. I don't want the general inspector doing HVAC and radon. And we're going to let Coffey share about why that is. But the same thing with HVAC. David Bibee has an alignment with Mr. Cool, and they come out and I make it mandatory to all my clients. You are getting an HVAC inspection. It's the most expensive component in your house. It costs, what is here? Let's go to the email, shall we? $120 for one system and $60 for an additional. You get pictures and a full teardown of the HVAC and an estimate of what it costs to repair the work. Immediately at the time of David Bibee delivers the inspection, you're going to have that Mr. Cool report. So David Coffey, lead us into, if you could briefly, why is radon such an issue? Because it blows my mind that it's still kind of a bit of a secret to some, and that agents are not sharing it enough. And I know we're working on state legislation to make this mandatory and certainly implore people to get it because it's such a health risk. So tell us a little bit about what radon is, why it's such a risk, and why working with your company is as a specialist versus general inspection is so important.
Yeah, one of the things that I really realized early on is because Tennessee not being a regulatory state, there was not a lot of oversight, so we were getting tests done under incorrect protocol. So I wanted to identify professionals that were in the real estate transaction as well as motivated homeowners and offer the ability to do this testing, one, under a certified system, taking the liability off of agents and the people that are involved in this transaction. Because communication is the key when it comes to proper radon testing. For instance, we rely on a person that is answering these phones from David Bibee and a certified person that is focused on these home inspectors that utilize Radon 1, because if there is a home with a multiple foundation type, i.e. a basement and a crawl space combination, though both of those sometimes need to have a test over each foundation type. If the house is over 2,000 square feet, you sometimes will need more testing devices. So all these things do 2 things. One, It doesn't limit the home inspector's ability if they only have 5 or 6 devices. Once those devices are deployed into the field, we still had demand. So I wanted to solve that answer. And we actually have 117 devices at our fingertips at any given time during the state. So we do on average of about 90 to 100 tests per month in a real estate transaction. So again, we are ready for that volume. So anyone who wants this test at this time doesn't have to either pay the inspector another trip charge to come back and do it. And it also allows us to be able to be that one call or that one-stop shop and be able to offer these services at the time you're getting your inspections done while still doing them under proper protocols.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and you know, I just can't. For all those that are interested, you can go to Radon 1 and learn more about David Coffey's company. It's incredible. There is no project too small or large that they won't tackle. Huge commercial, churches, high rises. It's extensive. So I have a lot of trust in David's company and his group, and especially based on the place in which he serves and in this business. So David, I mean, just give us a quick one about why Radon is such a risk, why it's so important we do this.
Sure. Well, for the last 20 years, all we talked about as far as commercial and a residential building is tightening up our envelopes. We've made our structures as energy efficient as possible. So at some point, we've got to start talking about the indoor air quality, not only radon, but other soil gases, VOCs, but radon is a Class A carcinogen, and it is not the level of 4 that we need to get excited about. When I get calls and they'll say, I tested at 3.7, what should I do? That is my answer, and I would put that out there to anybody who's trying to answer that question and not take on liability for yourself, is to say it's a Class A carcinogen. How much of it do you want? And a lot of times, the answer is, well, I want it to be as low as I can get it to be. So that answer is not 4, because even you'll see the EPA backing off some of their verbiage in the past, that 4 is the action level, but you're seeing more academics coming out that says 2.6 is also an action level. And there's other countries that have different action levels. So the rule of thumb is it is a Class A known carcinogen. It is a radioactive gas, and it is the second leading cause of lung cancer. And the tighter we make our homes and the more time we spend in our homes, home offices, home gyms, all these things have changed over the last 20 years that we really got to start focusing on indoor air quality.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. It's so important. And all these sound bites that you're getting are things to be talking about with your client, either at consultation or when they narrow down to the house. Do it while you're in the home to talk about the indoor air quality, because you made the best point. If the homes are drafty, well, then it's not as important. The tighter we make these homes, they're doing these buffer tests. What am I thinking of? The air where the vacuum tests where they're sealing up the home.
Blower door testing.
The blower door test.
Blower door.
Yeah, your home can't breathe. We're now having to create devices to bring in natural air to turn the air over, correct?
Right.
Yep.
So,
and one other thing with the radon testing is what I'm seeing out there in inspections, especially what I'm talking about now is new construction. Back years ago, I used to be a codes inspector for a local small municipality. And radon was really not in the forefront. It wasn't even a thought really back then, but like Davidson County, David, correct me if I'm wrong on these dates, but I think in 2016, if your permit was pulled in Davidson County, you had to put in at least a passive radon mitigation system. Williamson County, I think, was in 2014. Some of the other surrounding counties may be a little different, but like, Cheatham County, Robertson County, Wilson County, some of it, they don't even require radon right now. But what I'm getting at the new construction, what I'm saying is the passive radon mitigation that codes, this building standards require, none of them, I have yet to see any of them that are, well, I'll take that back. 95% of them are not installed per EPA guidelines, which is the appendix that they've adopted, the municipalities adopted from that
Appendix F.
International Code Council, which is kind of the governing body in the EPA. They're the governing body that set the building standards. So yeah, I see that all the time, that it's not installed properly.
We actually have 6 what we call fan cut-ins, where a passive pipe has previously been installed in new construction. We have 6 of those on the books today. I have gotten calls on 5 of them saying we can't make this work because it was just installed improperly. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and you really need to have a professional identify that before your client finds it out, because they were told a radon system is installed in this house. You may have a pipe installed in that house, but whether or not it can truly be something as simple as a fan cut in, it really needs to be inspected.
So you all might be glazing over at radon at this moment. Sorry, David, go ahead.
Well, I mean, just what Dave was saying, not only the pipe in the ground, you might have a pipe installed, especially, but in crawl spaces, it's not installed properly because that vapor barrier has got wide open gaps. So that if there's any of the radon vapor coming up, it's escaping other ways instead of.
So we lost David Bibee. His phone may have died, but that's okay. He's we can certainly pick up from here and continue. But the point to all that I want to know about this is when you start glazing over, or I mean, I'm a person that just wants to know, but I'm real cautious to be careful to share too much besides to my colleagues, in that get a specialist, get somebody that can have the conversation. A home inspector is a generalist. That is, and there's an intention and a reason why they are a generalist. And so I love the fact that my inspector is not my radon guy. He's not my HVAC guy, right? He's working with specialists and coordinating those calls and getting them there for install and pickup, and to make that happen. And you'll see again when I go back to the screen that he talks about that as far as the radon piece there. So very, very, very important in that piece and component. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Once you'll see some of the things that is from an agent perspective to help your buyer, besides making sure, because all they care about is when the report comes in, is that where is my report? I need to get my report. And the problem is they didn't pay for their report, and the report isn't delivered till they pay for it. So again, in this email is that, but prior to that is having a conversation in an email that goes in my template to the other side. So I represent the buyer, and I've even had put this in my contract. It's in my email, and it says, and it references this first point here, all utilities must be on for testing. Gas, electric, plumbing, fireplace need to have pilot light. Please note, I do not turn on breakers, water supplies, or light pilot lights due to possible damages and liabilities. There's a $200 return for a visit. Don't wait until you have the inspection and then they go in and, oh my gosh, there's a padlock on the crawl space door, or the crawl space door is smaller than 24 by 18. Maybe with COVID, it needs to be 24 by 24. Still looking good, Dave, don't you worry. And so the thing is that it's, there's so many things that you can just do on the front end with taps. And I think that's true of our business in general to help improve the process. So having these things, Dave, is there anything, David Bibee, welcome back. Is there anything you want to add as far as things that we could prep the listing side? You says no pets here, once bitten, twice shy. Anything else on there that we should pay attention to?
Well, like on that template that I send out, it's imperative that that section is sent. Well, I had a phone call and it cut me off. So that's why, so I don't know how far you got into that. But, it's imperative to send that to the listing agent and the seller so they know to have that house prepared like you were touching base on. But, I'll give it a perfect example. The crawl space is the most #1 neglected area of a home. Period. I just left this morning, beautifully renovated cottage, 1,400 square feet. on a crawl space. And man, on the pictures, it looks like a dollhouse, but it's like, okay, well, if they had just spent a little money and time on that crawl space, and it's so much moisture down there, organic growth. And in one of those bullet points, it talks about critters.
Right here.
So when I go in about halfway and I start to see raccoon feces and that are pretty fresh and raccoon tracks, I'm coming out of there. The last thing I want to do is get nose to nose with a raccoon in a crawl space. So if you're going to list a house, have your seller spend a little time and money to get that crawl space, because it's going to be a lot cheaper for them to mitigate any issue in that crawl space on their own terms before the buyer comes in there and wants to see professional moisture mitigation, critter control, get all that stuff out there and get it accessible before I get there. Save you a lot of money.
That's a great point. I mean, I think we overlook it a little bit, right? We're too worried about the pillows and the staging and the cleanliness, which is very, very important.
Right.
But once we get to that inspection stage, I mean, heck, put it on the market, show it. The buyers aren't likely going in the crawl space, but before that inspection, have your own contractor or someone take a look at that and make sure to tidy up the vapor barrier and see what pitfalls could exist down there. Excellent. David Coffey.
Yeah, and we'll do, if you're needing someone to perform those services of just because vapor membranes and vapor barriers are something that we do, a lot of times, whether it's my company or someone else, will do that inspection for you free of charge, and identify a lot of those things. Many times we get called out for air quality issues, and they'll say, oh, I've got to spend money because I've got water in my crawl space and I need a sump pump or I need this and that. And I say, why don't we clean the gutters? If we would just clean the gutters and stop all that water from dumping around the foundation, you might be able to save your $15,000 that you was going to have to spend in a crawl space. So it's communication with professionals is kind of the message.
I love it. I love it.
Communication.
It is the number one complaint about realtors, both from clients, past clients, and vendors, is communication. It is the biggest complaint we have against our industry is that. Maybe because we're taxed too much, or my voicemail even jokes that, congratulations for getting my voicemail. I may actually call you back if you use this technology. So
on that note, one of the things that we're doing in Tennessee is this year there's a Tennessee Radon Coalition, a nonprofit being built, and we have about 65 people that are joining that coalition because of a bad experience during the real estate transaction, that they were not either the test was done incorrectly, or they were not told about radon in this area, and there's just a lot of awareness that still needs to happen. So hopefully that will be an asset to the real estate transaction, because as someone who's done this for 12 years now, radon should never slow down a real estate transaction. Never. Even houses as high as 519 picocuries are very fixable.
That's the word for the day. What was the what's the word?
What's the metric?
There you go. Take that to your Scrabble game this afternoon. Tell us about the number 4, why that's important in radon. Why do we always talk about number 4? And
yeah, in 1984 they linked epidemiology, and to be honest with you, it was kind of funny back then, because it was much like the current situation. We thought, oh my gosh, we're all going to die from radon. So in order to make sure that we had some kind of benchmark action level, the EPA and Congress set a level of 4 picocuries per liter of air. But after that, the scientific community come back and said, now, wait a minute, you're doing that off extrapolated data from minor studies, and there was just a lot of pushback. So the World Health Organization for the last 20 years has been compiling residential risk factors, and that's where the 2.7 or less come in. So again, I think if you're looking for an answer to give your client that doesn't put you in any liability, it is a fact that it is a Class A carcinogen, and we want to get it as low as we can get it. So I don't know that it's a good answer to say, yay, 3.9, you're good. So again, let your client make that determination. But at least with my company and certainly professionals out here, there's no reason why radon should be a determining factor one home over another, because your overall air quality will improve exponentially with these systems, as well as lowering your radon level.
Excellent. Excellent. I just put in the chat window, if anyone wants to post questions there, we will take those as well. So we're on site, David, and we're at the inspection, and certainly now with COVID, we know we're not to attend that, nor our clients. It's strictly prohibited. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you see missed, overlooked, or misunderstood from the inspection.
When you say would you?
Well, not with you, of course. We know you don't miss anything, but what are some of the things that you have done in your business to give the client a better experience and a better results, and things that maybe you see people overlook or you get calls for?
Gee, you kind of put me on the spot. I'm trying to, I try to be as thorough as, it's not only just because of this virus and no one attends, and I'm always available for a text or phone call. Once they review their report, they have questions, and I try to be as, it's not that I don't want to talk to anybody, but if I can be as self-explanatory in my report, then that may just eliminate one text or one phone call I don't have to take. Now I don't mind talking to anybody, but I try to be very informative to where there's really nothing really that hopefully the client won't have any questions much about. But
what are things we want to make sure our inspector is using as people use different inspectors out there to make sure the clients are getting the most thorough reports? Such, I know you have a drone to look at the roofs and it lets you zoom in and get pictures of that. I know you have thermal imaging for things.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we incorporate, drone technology, FAA certified, and, Tennessee does not require home inspectors to walk on the roof. So a lot of these home inspectors that are either, don't have a contractor background, that's probably the most important component of a home is the roof, keeps everything dry. Roofs that you can't walk on, whether it be too high off the ground, too steep of a pitch, I have a drone that I get up there, and I can zoom up pictures. I can look at possible problem areas that we've seen issues in the past, chimneys, penetrations, missing shingles that a lot of times you can't see from the ground. So, and plus I like to try to get like 100, 150 foot shot of your property, because everybody likes to see their house from the air. So I give you an overview, and then I come down and start getting the business, looking at the roof. Use thermal imaging. It's like you said earlier, we can't see through walls, but with that thermal imaging gun, we can see moisture and air intrusion. It's not an X-ray machine, so it takes. We're looking at change in temperature. So if there's a 2-story home, I go upstairs and run all the flush the toilet, the sinks, the tubs, showers. I can come under the living room or wherever that bathroom is upstairs, and if there's a leak, I'll pick it up with that thermal camera. So it kind of, because, if I didn't have that, then, it could be, 3 weeks or 3 months, you're going to have, a spot develop or drywall coming loose in your ceiling. So go ahead, Ted. You was about to say something. No.
I was just saying, you know, one of the things that I include with my buyer consultation is, and again, this is not promotion to David's company, folks. It's just the things that I utilize that helps my client. This is all about what gives the client more education. So David has what I call a Slim Jim, and in here it shows just kind of some highlights: the thermal imaging gun, the drone, and he is a veteran. We thank him for his service there. And on the back is the home inspection infographic, and it goes through each component of the home as to, can everyone see this? Is this on your screens? Okay, great. This is old.
I can see it pretty good.
Yeah. So you can see heating and air and electricity and all these pieces. And I just like that. It has his information and website. I mean, it just gives that buyer a little more understanding. Are they going to read it? Nope. Just like everything else, they're just going to throw that in the trash like we do with all our postcards. But the point is I'm the source of the source, and they can't say they weren't given the information. And that's really what all brokers will tell us is most of our job is really to be the informant, the source of the source, and CYA for liability. And so the things that these professionals do help protect me, that the buyer has been educated on those things.
Maybe if I may speak to cool tools, a lot of agents are not aware that there are certain devices that can be deployed in a real estate transaction for measuring radon. And then there are also devices that are not allowed to measure radon. We get, at least at our offices, 3 to 4 times a month going out to quote a system and find out that they've tested whomever has tested with an improper device. Therefore, you know, it should be retested, and a lot of times that becomes a sticky wicket in a real estate transaction when it didn't have to be. So again, it is the use of a certified professional who can understand what those devices are and how to set the delays. For instance, you know, in one of the things I love about mine and David Bibee's partnership is one of the things he does is open all the windows and doors to check those things. Well, you just broke the secular equilibrium of that house, so therefore you broke the protocols for a radon test. Well, working with a certified company, you can avoid all those things, so you're much more defensible in your answers to your client.
Excellent. Thank you, David Coffey. Very, very true. There's some nuances to this that we take for granted, and that's not our job to be worried about that. It's to have professionals that is their job to worry about that. So I want to get to a couple questions here that came up. One from Becky. What questions as realtors do we need to be asking of our radon testers, such as, is their machine calibrated? Any other things there, Mr. Coffey?
It's a great question. One of the, and it's some of the questions that our QA/QC demands, that when we get provided tests from a client that says, I've tested my home high, I always look to see if the device was calibrated, and each device needs to be calibrated yearly. If where the device was deployed and the protocols that it was tested under. So we do try to rule those things out. But again, agents do so much work and they have to work so hard for their clients. I think I would push that off to say, hey, let me get a professional to answer those questions and get the liability off of you. But yes, wrong devices and devices that have bounced around in the back of the truck and become uncalibrated is a big issue in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, if somebody's HVAC fails a year after they bought it and they go, well, why did we had an inspection, new HVAC, when you have health risks and somebody goes to sell their house 2 years after they bought it and it tests at an 8 particulates, what is the word?
Picky curies.
Picky curies.
Picky curies.
Picky curies. I'll work on it. If it tests that high, they're going to be looking to you and their inspector, as I've seen, and say, well, why didn't we get a test? Or why did it test inconsistently? So the levels can vary, and there's many factors as to, you know, somebody can open all the windows to try to get airflow through. And don't be fooled that it's only in homes with crawl spaces or basements. I sold an Icon unit. I swear I must be the only one. Barbara Browning, I believe, was on the other side. She did a radon test at a condo. Yes, we had radon on a first floor unit at the Icon.
I think I did that test.
Thank you, doctor. On a slab. And no joke, like that was a problem. A big problem is how do you mitigate radon in a condo and then have to get approval from the board to drill a hole through the outside to vent to the exterior to only have radon gas go up to the balcony above you. It was, we got through it, but it was, just know that, don't take for granted that it's only in certain situations or that there are any signs that there would be radon here versus not. True, David Coffey?
Yes, there's a couple maps. Both Williamson and Davidson County have been identified as to their map zone. And again, I have high levels in zone 3 and I have low levels in zone 1. So radon comes from the breakdown of uranium in the soil. So if you have a home that it happens to be above one of these areas that it's venting, then you have the potentiality to have radon, and it doesn't matter if you have a crawl space or a slab. But again, I want the message to go out there that these are very fixable, and 12 years have not found a house we could not get very close to zero, definitely below 2.6.
Awesome, thank you. We had a question here about seeing a copy of your inspection report. What does it look like? I can just provide a link in here and you can go take a look at sample reports. But also next on Thursday, we're going to go over the inspection negotiation process and creating your list. But in here, I just put a link in the Zoom chat of where you can see a demo. You can select the items. David Bibee uses a home gauge platform. And is that true, David?
That is true, yes.
Yep. And so you can go through and pick the items that you want to put on the list that you send to the seller side, because you are not to what? Ever send the report. I think I saw your lips moving, Becky. So yeah. Yes, you never send the report. I see you over there. And but you can build that custom list of what to send them. Okay.
And Ted, on my email, the email that you had up on the screen earlier,
yes,
at
sir.
the very bottom of it, when I send that to my clients and agents, on the very bottom of that page,
it's right here. Everyone
right
can
there,
see.
right there. There's a link that shows you a tutorial of how to use that, and then there's another link that's a demo that, because you know I've had agents that are just reluctant to change, which I think we're all guilty of that. But the agents that I've had go in there and learn that, which I don't think takes long, about how to create that repair list and automatically create a PDF that you can attach to your addendum. I mean, it's just say it's the best thing that they've ever had.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So y'all can go through that demo. It's really easy, and you can see, well, again, you'll see the link there. You can go in and it'll tell you even how many items. So you've selected 6 of the 14 items, creates a pretty little thing you can send to the other side. All right, question from Annie Nelson. Do you refer to all other inspectors, pool, sewer, septic, structural? Do you have a network you refer to? If not, what specific inspections do you do? Some inspectors will do first re-inspection free. Do you offer the same?
As far as septic, I refer another company. I don't do any septic tanks. Pools, spas, I refer that out to a third party. I know some inspectors do the pools and the spas, but you know that I'm just. So no, I don't do that. As far as re-inspections are based on, am I still there, Ted? Okay.
Yes, sir, you are.
Walk out and plug in. On my side is a link on there, a link tab that says price scheduling. And on that price scheduling is a list of everything that I offer and the prices. So when it comes to re-inspections, up to 5 items. You there, Ted?
Yep, we're here.
So up to, well, it's not on that email, but it's on my website. So
I see. I'm sorry.
Say again?
No, go ahead. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yes, on my
It was on the email. It's on your site.
All right, so on the, bear with me a second here. I had to come out to the truck. So on my,
We're losing you a little bit, David, with your connection. Sometimes if you move too much, the audio and video can lose you there. So are you there, David? All right, we'll come back to David. Annie, does that answer your question? Awesome. Okay. And again, that's something that for specialists, I forgot. Thank you for adding that regarding pool and certainly septic. Those would be specialized things. And sometimes, again, a generalist can give them enough comfort. If they see issues there, will put something that says, look for more detail on that. So through the inspection process, you can see it once inspection is conducted and you get all of your results. As I said, what I love is I get an HVAC report with pricing and detailed photos. So Mr. Cool's done a great job for me, and that doesn't mean I always use him for the service, but I try to honor his their company, and they're very responsive. David Bibee sets that up for me as well. His confirmation emails to all parties work really, really well, and then I've incorporated some of his language in the email I reiterate to the selling side. Most importantly, do not have that crawl space locked. Do not have all your Christmas decorations covering the HVAC system in the attic. Like, the seller needs to be prepared on what their house has to be ready for inspection. They're always worried about, do we need to fix the light bulb? No, you just need to get your out of the way so that the inspector can do their job, right? All right, let's have client sound.
Yeah, I hear you, Ted, but I can't see anything.
That's okay. I've been called worse. Annie's got a great point here.
Okay.
Ann said she has an inspection list that I'm happy to share that they have clients sign off on, so they can't say they weren't offered. That would be awesome if you wouldn't mind sharing that either in the chat or on Facebook. I will be happy to share that with this recording and the notes. There was also a request for the brochure or the Slim Jim that David Bibee had, if that could be put at the offices. There are some materials that both David Coffey with Radon 1 and David Bibee has, and I will make sure those are available at the offices. That is not per se an endorsement, but it's there as a resource for you. I'll post links to their websites in the chat box as well. Any other, we're at 11:30. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Any other parting questions? Again, Thursday at 2 o'clock, we'll go through, now you have your report, how to negotiate this process for best results for everyone and limited liability. Any other questions or parting thoughts here?
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I thank you both so much. I know we may have just scratched the surface, but ultimately, yes, David.
My interrupted, but one thing I would like to put out to the agents to spread the word. Go back to that word communication, and it's the process that just the agents that I work with, email that you're doing that has that, it's imperative that you forward this about the crawl space, utilities, that sort of thing to the seller. It's amazing that when my agents forward that and it's I get the property.
We're listening you pretty hard, David. I'm not sure if you're driving, but we're having a hard time hearing your complete thought. So are you in motion at this moment?
Can you hear me now?
As Verizon says, yes. And then he went to Sprint. Sorry, folks. So I'm going to post the websites here. I think most importantly, what David's saying is communication. It is the biggest problem that he has in seeing the buyer have a poor experience. The buyer says, "Oh," he'll say, "Did the agent forward you the email?" Agent never forwarded me anything. It makes everyone look like they're off third base here. So so please just be really mindful to that and be a professional in our industry. I just posted both of their websites so you can see more about that. They're easy to contact and access and available for questions. Look, church isn't even over and we're down to 13 participants. I know who you are, communion. I'm glad y'all are still here. We were at 25 and now we're at 13. We're losing them fast. 11:32, any other parting thoughts or needs somebody taken care of? I'll get David Bibee over there with his chainsaw. Anybody need any help or ways we can serve you before we part today? All right, well, I'm so thankful for you all. I appreciate your questions, participation, and showing your shiny faces. We love you. Stay safe and take care of each other. And I'll make sure we get those packets into all the offices so that you have those references. But again, you can reach out and create relationships with these vendors yourself. Thank you all. We'll see you Thursday, 2 o'clock to talk about the inspection release process. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir. David Bibee still dialing in. Are you out there, my friend? Are you on drone duty? What's happening?
I'm still here. I'm still
Okay.
here.
David, we're gonna sign off today and go to our field coverage. So Beth Hooker, we love to see you.
Thank you, Ted.
Fred Lawrence, great to see you. Janet, thank you. And David Bibee, sorry we broke up there a little bit at the end, but I assure you you're still my inspector and I appreciate and love you, my friend.
Absolutely. If you need to call me during class, I should be available.
Sounds good. And David Bibee is starting a fishing company down in Florida, so we'll start charter excursions in a few years. Love y'all. Thanks, Captain.
American
Appreciate you.
excursions. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Me time.
Bye.
Thank you.